Welcome to our second session of the day, Plugging into Canvas, Innovation Through Equitable Course Material Delivery. I do have a few housekeeping notes. First, the session is being recorded. Second, we ask that you please provide your feedback at the end of the session. We will post a link to our survey in the chat near the end of the session, and we greatly appreciate your feedback. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our next presenters from Illinois Central College, Cate Kaufman, Library Services Director, and Jessica Bastian, Digital Services Librarian. Cate and Jessica will be sharing their experience with Leganto, a Canvas LTI integration that plugged the library into ICC's LMS, provided an innovative delivery of course content, offered new active learning opportunities, and supported equity initiatives. So please join me in welcoming and thanking Cate and Jessica for joining us today.
Thank you, Ashton. I think Jessica's going to start us off. You're muted, Jessica.
Just realized I was muted. Good morning. Thank you. My name, like Ashton and Cate said, I'm Jessica Bastian, Digital Services Librarian at ICC, and we'll just jump right in. Maybe. Okay. All right. So Illinois Central College is located in East Peoria and Peoria, Illinois. Our FTE is 3,842, and the mission at our college is we believe through learnings minds change, and we believe by changing minds we can change the world. So we wanted to start out by just sharing that brief kind of description about ICC or of ICC, and the picture you're looking at is the Peoria campus, and the library is right there on the lower level. So just a little bit about us to get us started. So today we're going to be talking about Leganto, and we have branded Leganto as ICC Library Reading Lists or Reading Lists. So throughout the presentation, you may hear us refer to it as Reading Lists, but the product is Leganto, and it's an ex libris product that integrates into Canvas, our LMS, but we also have experience using it in Blackboard, as well as into Alma. So it's kind of the connection piece between the library and the student learning environment. So we wanted to share this brief video. It's an ex libris video on Leganto to give you, to share with you just a little bit more about the product. And I will say that we saw this video initially. It's what got us interested in Leganto, and during our investigation process before we launched Leganto, this is the video we shared around our campus. So I'm going to play it now, and fingers crossed that it works. So Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that video and or maybe having the same experience that we had when we first saw it, which was really just kind of a wow moment, thinking that we could do all of those things in Alma and connect our students and engage with our students in the LMS with reading materials. So I put the link to that video in the chat, so you have it there too. Okay, so today's session objectives, we're going to describe, show, and demonstrate our experience with Leganto. So we're going to describe how Leganto supports equity initiatives at ICC. We'll show you some student engagement features and some different options for active learning. And then we're going to demonstrate the delivery of course materials using Leganto, primarily through screenshots. We will not be doing a live demo today. Okay, so I think the big thing that we found with Leganto is it was just a great way to provide equitable course content delivery. And it does this really, we found 3 main ways to fit Leganto in to the equity initiatives that were already ongoing in the library, but also on campus. So Leganto supports our OER initiatives at Illinois Central College. Leganto helped the library with textbook digitization, which we really depended on during the COVID-19 pandemic and shift to all remote and online learning. And then Leganto is our tool to calculate the cost of student savings. And it also helps us calculate the cost of library materials being used in courses. So let's dive in and look at each of these 3 areas. Okay, OER initiatives. So Leganto helps us in a lot of ways with our OER initiative. And on our campus right now, we have the humanities department has several OER options in composition, literature, interpreter prep, and film. And OER is our course content delivery for those courses. So through Primo VE, we have course reserve discovery. So students and faculty can connect with their OER materials through the library catalog with Primo VE, which can be searched in Leganto through Canvas. We also provide, and we use that to deliver OER course options, sorry. It also provides the mechanism for faculty to share their reading lists with other instructors. So faculty can build reading lists with course information, program information, and instructors can add, share, and copy the course material. So it really facilitates that sharing, which is important to OER. Leganto, like I mentioned a couple times now, integrates with Canvas. And so when we're looking to develop no cost, low cost supplemental materials and OER materials for courses and have that conversation about how to store them, what's the best way to deliver them, reading lists and Leganto really provided that option for us. And it also is the reporting tool for student engagement. So faculty they get reports on number of views, clicks, and it's reporting down to the actual individual student level. So it really provides a lot of insight for faculty. So the benefit there is rather than just sharing, a link to an OER, which is open, if you put that link in your reading list, you can do things like assign it to a discussion or assign it in an assignment and have students do a discussion with it. And then you can see, who participated. You can also just put it in your reading list and then see the student engagement metrics around views and clicks and things like that. And so our instructors have found that really helpful. And it's also our cost saving calculation. Like I mentioned, we can tag OER materials in Leganto. It helps us get a sense of who's using what in what courses, and we can pull reports. And it's just been a really great tool to have in our back pocket as the initiative on campus develops. We're able to really do a lot and connect with faculty, and it's been very helpful. Keep going. Okay, so textbook digitization, and this is really, I think, where we found a lot of value, and I have to admit, it really wasn't even on our radar when we looked at getting Leganto initially. So during the pandemic, our ICC library closed, and physical textbook reserves, that was not possible. So it was not possible to provide students a physical copy. So we digitized within copyright the first chapter of textbooks, and that really has started to grow. So we can digitize textbook chapters or materials for courses and then share that in Leganto. So it allows for us to securely share PDFs. It provides copyright management tools. Faculty can it provides us to copyright management tools. And then again, it allows us to capture the student cost savings. There's also other features like the embed reader and accessibility tools that enhance student learning. So the screenshot you're looking at is a PDF of a traditional, print textbook. And you can see that students have the option to download the file. They can also view it they can click on view, and it opens up into a reader, and then has the accessibility tools. They can have it read to them and things like that. So it's a really neat feature. And for print reserves, it will show students the availability. So even though we initially used it during the pandemic for digitized textbooks, there's also functionality in Leganto for print. So it's kind of neat there too. So I want to show you a little bit more about textbook reserves. So here, what you're looking at is, if this is a Canvas course site, it's the Leganto integration within Canvas. And again, this is a physical, this book here at the top is a physical textbook. And through Leganto, it tells the availability of the item. You could put really any physical book in your reading list, and it will show the student the availability. If it's something that's in stacks, students can even request, put in a request. We don't allow textbook requests, so they can't request it. But if you did allow for textbook reserve requesting, Leganto would even be able to facilitate that. It will connect you to Alma so that your students could do that right within the LMS. Okay, and then this is a screenshot of a request. So in Leganto, faculty can, when they put something on reserve that is a physical item, there's a pop-up that says, the library owns a copy, would you like us to digitize that? And then that request goes into Leganto, and then we get it in Alma, and we can fulfill that request in Alma. And then here's an example of just some different items. This is not a live course, but it's an example of what the Leganto or the reading list items look like on a Canvas page. So it really demonstrates that the integration is seamless. Students don't know they're looking at content that's really even in a reading list when you kind of design, when you work with a faculty member to talk about how they want to share content with their students. It doesn't seem like something extra. So it allows the student to engage with that library material right within the LMS. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Cate, and she's going to talk about the ways that we have been able to measure and demonstrate value with Leganto.
Thanks, Jessica. So I think this is the piece where I kind of nerd out on Leganto. I just really love what it's been able to do for us in terms of demonstrating our value to the college and to students. We've never been able to capture usage data at the course level before. And so this really kind of pulls back the curtain and allows us to see which resources are being used, how they're being used, and in what courses. And it really allows us to just speak to the return on investment of our resources. So, you know, we have a pretty sizable electronic resources budget for a community college, and every year I get a little nervous that we're going to have to justify the amount that we're spending. And now we actually have a way to demonstrate that impact on our students. So that's through the sticker price functionality. And so as we review items on a course list, we assign a sticker price to them, and that is based off of what we've determined are our costs per item. So we did some research about, you know, cost per article, and then also we know our streaming video costs, so we calculate those. And eventually, as you add all of those things in there and you have the course enrollments tied to each of these courses, it calculates the potential cost savings to students. So then I'd like to share kind of where we are right now. So we've had Leganto since 2020, like Jessica mentioned. It was kind of right as we were launching Alma. We did Leganto at the same time. We started with a very small pilot of faculty the fall of 2020, and you'll see you know, our total savings, potential savings for students that year was $130,005. A portion of that was just in digitization, and that was about $18,697. And since then, we've got our cumulative total here, and we're over $1.4 million. So that has actually impacted 4,437 students. So you can kind of see how we started with a really small kind of lean and mean group of faculty who were interested in taking this leap with us. And then it just continues to evolve and continues to grow, and has made such a huge impact on what we're able to share in terms of our library resources, and also, you know, demonstrating that value to our students and the rest of our stakeholders. So we're not actually claiming that we did save students that much, but we just know that this is one concrete way that we can start discussing the impact that the library makes on our students. The next thing I wanted to share was that we did do some surveys and some feedback on student and faculty interest and their perceptions of Leganto. And what we found was that students really, really like using these reading lists. And for that matter, so do faculty. The picture you see here in the corner is of Jaden. She's one of our OTA students. And she was so excited about what Leganto did for her. She used it as kind of her own way of collecting resources, not only for the course that used the reading list, but for all of her courses. She used it to kind of manage all of the resources that she needed. She got so excited that she did a series of videos for us on what Leganto meant to her as a student. We're not going to play those today, but she was just very enthusiastic about it. And I think it captures kind of the sentiment of a lot of students because of that seamless access to information and your course materials. Our adjunct faculty quote here too, I just absolutely love, because we're in the middle of a transition between Blackboard and Canvas. That's going to happen this summer. And so when we launched this tool in fall of 2020, we all knew that eventually we'd be moving to a new LMS. We weren't sure which one it would be, but there are people who invested in doing this, even though they knew we'd make that transition. And it really, really does help faculty make those transitions a little bit easier, because you don't have to rebuild that list in a new LMS. You can just connect what you already did in a different LMS to the new one. And it makes their lives so much easier. So even if you're not in a transitional state, it's going to be beneficial just in terms of the flexibility to move different parts and pieces to different courses, and then also rolling over those lists from semester to semester. Okay, so Leganto in several ways supports engagement and success of not only students, but of faculty. And I mentioned a little bit about the faculty piece just a minute ago, but it really does facilitate organizing course content. So you can chop it up in a lot of different ways and plug it into your courses. It eased the transition for our faculty to online learning. And then, like Jessica mentioned, they're able to very easily share their reading lists. We have one full-time faculty member in humanities who has been an advocate or a champion for this from the very beginning, because he saw the potential for full-time faculty to share with adjunct faculty that are kind of at the very last minute assigned courses, and they don't have to scramble to come up with their course content. Full-time faculty can share what's already available and help ease that burden. Leganto also provides, like in the interface, tutorials for faculty and kind of walks them through different steps, but you can also develop your own and put those within the interface too. And then we also are able to do a lot of troubleshooting for faculty. So we get reports in Alma if someone has marked a link as broken, and then we can follow up with that specific person because we get their ID number, and we can contact them directly, which actually saves a lot of time for the faculty if students do it that way, because then they don't have to be the intermediary. We can just let them know at the end of the day, this has been fixed. And if anybody has expressed frustration to you, don't worry, we've taken care of it. From the student standpoint, like we've mentioned before, everything is in one place. They don't have to go out to this site and out to that site. It keeps them kind of within the same space and helps ease the login process too for students to their materials. There are social reading and read and respond features as well. So a discussion can take place on a specific item. Jessica showed the PDF at the beginning that was embedded, and you can actually have a discussion on that PDF, and students can highlight and make notes and talk about what they're seeing in those readings. That's a really neat tool. We've talked about the accessibility, and then of course, it connects the library and the student in terms of research and course support. You've seen a little bit about how this encourages the use of the library collection, but this is a tighter screenshot of what it looks like to search the library within Leganto. So this is what pops up and is just on the side of the screen for students, for faculty. They can search anything that they're searching in Primo VE can come up with this screen, and they can easily add those items to their collection. They have their own collection that they can add to, or they can add it directly to the course. So it promotes the increased discovery of our library content. And then also, like we mentioned with Jaden, it helps provide some of that research management. So here's another screenshot to let you see kind of what those search results look like. It's similar in terms of what you would see as the filters and the ways that you can limit your search in Primo VE. And then this is an example of those assignments that you can add via Leganto. So as you assign a reading, you can use Leganto as the way to do those discussions, but then also grade those discussions. So then Leganto, based on what's happening in those discussions, you can grade how the students have done, and then it will directly integrate with the grade book, which is another neat feature. And this is another close screenshot of that, of a reading list with several different items, video items. It pulls the thumbnail into the Canvas page. It shows, you know, the book information, and I just really like the way that it lays out on a Canvas page, because as Jessica mentioned before, they don't really know they're using anything different than Canvas because of the way that it's integrated. It just looks like a Canvas page to them, and they don't have to learn something new. And then finally, we talked a little bit about how Leganto brings that engagement data to faculty that they wouldn't have normally. So one of the big questions that our faculty had initially, and I think some of it's still ongoing, is, well, what if I put a YouTube video in here? I never know how many of my students use their YouTube videos, and is it worth it to do a reading list if it's just full of YouTube videos? And our answer is yes, because of this type of data. So you can see how many students were active, how many total views they had, and then a faculty member can get down to the student level data. So you can see the broader course and that section, how active that section is with this item, but then you can go further down, drill further down if you'd like, and see student by student. So one of our instructors that uses this feature has said that, you know, now when I have discussions in my course that are tied to a reading, and I think, you know, this is pretty generic. I'm not sure that their response is really hitting the mark. He goes and he takes a look at that student data, and he can tell whether or not they've actually read what was assigned. And he said it gave him a lot more insight into what was being used or not used in his course. And then I think I'm tossing it over to Jessica again.
Yes, so this is just a wrap up. So today's session, we focused on our experience using Leganto to support equity initiatives at ICC, but also just to serve our students and faculty. We highlighted the student and faculty engagement features that make Leganto a great option for the delivery of course materials. And now we would like to turn it over for questions. So Kate and I are happy to answer questions. We also have some questions for you. So we're interested in what other LTI integrations are you using, either with the library or in your campus's LMS? And then just things like, how do you deliver library content within the LMS? And then a question to consider, do you know what resources from the library or otherwise are being used in the courses at your school? So feel free to, well, first, I guess maybe before we dig in, we can open it up and see if you guys have any questions for Kate or I. And Kate, I can't, so I can find the chat and see.
Yeah, I don't think we've had any yet.
Okay.
I don't see any questions in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on them for you too. I'm wondering what faculty support structure do you have? How do you train faculty on this, and how's faculty adoption going?
Kate, do you want to take that, or? Well, also,
you're the trainer primarily,
okay,
so
yeah.
I'll let you take that one.
Well, it's ongoing, and it's always, I mean, that's the critical question, right? And I think when we first implemented, it was something that I was really nervous about. How are we gonna, get faculty to actually use it? And then if they're interested, how do we teach them to use it? But so I can give, yesterday, I gave a demonstration with the Teaching and Learning Center. So Canvas trainings for faculty throughout pretty much the entire semester. We're really gearing up towards our big transition this summer. And I had 2 sessions within that series for 90 minutes where faculty could come, and we showed the different integration features and how to work with the external tool in Canvas. And, some kind of support, whether that's drop-in sessions for faculty. But Cate was, such a good leader in that when we started, she took my reservations about, or our reservations about training, and just said, look, let's start small. And so when we did our implementation, we targeted, right? We invited a pilot group of faculty to participate in our program. I think we had like 12 pilot faculty. And then those 12 faculty have just snowballed, just kind of gets bigger and bigger every semester, either through word of mouth or I think Swank video, our videos are a really good example. So after our first pilot season, we have this group of active faculty. We spend a lot of resources on Swank films, streaming media for our film courses. And we decided that at the start of the next semester, we were going to ask all of the Swank faculty members that we purchase films for, or licensing for films through Swank, we were going to ask them to do a reading list. We felt strongly that we wanted to deliver that streaming media content through the reading list. We wanted the data, we wanted the troubleshooting features, we wanted to use those, and we just said, we're going to ask you to use this, and they did, and they liked it. And so it's a lot of different things. It's constant opportunities to connect with faculty and provide training, and then continuing to work with those faculty who are using it. So our pilot group continues. We work with them semester after semester. We do at the beginning and end of every semester. It gets kind of busy because faculty are either making changes to their reading list at the end of the semester or rolling it over at the beginning of the semester. So there's a lot of hands-on, one-on-one support and interaction between the library and the faculty at that time. And then throughout, like in the middle of the semester, we try to drum up more business and more interest. And we just take every opportunity we're offered to show it off and to encourage our faculty, who are really big supporters, to do the same. So that's a long-winded answer.
Thank you. I don't see any additional questions in the chat, but if you have any questions for our presenters, feel free to unmute your microphones.
Or if you want to share anything about similar work you're doing at your institution, we'd love to hear that too.
I know part of the reason why we went the way that we did with those Swank videos is because Jessica was having to send those out via email every semester and hope that they got the link correct in their in their Blackboard course, and it was always a nightmare. So I'm curious if you all experience the same type of frustrations and how you handle those right now, because to us this was a solution for that issue, but maybe there are other tactics that you take. We have a quiet group this
Quiet
morning.
group. This
Yeah. I'm
Um,
pausing to give other people a chance to talk, but we are kind of in the middle of that painful process, especially with titles that we originally bought like mid-year. And so we have to renew a license like in October or November. So even remembering to schedule those renewals mid-semester. So could you possibly with Leganto, if faculty are planning on using streaming videos, you could pull a report of videos in those reading lists and check to make sure your licenses are ready to go for the semester?
That's a good question. We can pull a report to see the streaming media links and what classes are being used in. And I even think there's like a link checker report we can do, we can work with in Legato to see if the links are active, like whether they're bad or not bad. They're, you know, I'm kind of thinking that I'm sure there's a way to do that. So we do use Alma acquisitions, but I don't have licensing information in acquisitions. For Swank, you probably could. It's not quite that easy. So I keep track of the license kind of separately, but we can see what library content is being used and if the links are active or not active. So I guess you could see probably the creation date, when you launched that link. And so if you were paying attention to, the creation date, and then if you could check then to see like when the license date was. So I think it would probably help with that workflow. And you, like, I think someone who knows maybe more about the acquisition side of Alma and I put in just like the big Swank invoice into Alma. I don't put in the individual like licenses. So, but I think you probably could. So I don't maybe know the full answer to that, but it certainly helped us with troubleshooting. So Cate mentioned so students in Canvas or in their reading list, if the link doesn't work, there's a little button that says mark this link as broken, and all they have to do is click on it, and then the task shows up in our Alma tasks bar. And I think it's been interesting because most of the time something is wrong, or when something is wrong, we figure that out quickly, and I can fix it for the whole class. And like Cate mentioned, save that instructor, 30 emails or whatever. But I've had a couple instances where I think students are just tempted to click on something that if it says mark this link as broken, that temptation to, I want to click that button and see what happens. So I think we've gotten a couple of those too, but I think that's great. Like, what a way to just engage with the library and see if we responded. So, but those come in slowly too. So the better the faculty get with working with their reading list, I think that since we've started with Legato, I have fewer troubleshooting issues overall. It's much easier for me to figure out what's going on when something is marked as broken, because I can look in Alma and see the item details and the item record. And then I can also view their list and kind of mimic the experience that the student's having. So if you are familiar with troubleshooting, the first thing you have to do is try to repeat the issue. And this helps me with that. It saves me so much back and forth between emailing the instructor, emailing the student, asking for screenshots, just the whole process. So I think there's a lot of added value just from that perspective too.
One other thing I didn't mention, but should have, was, not only do students have the option to mark something as broken, a link as broken, but they can also check things off, so they can mark them as done. And then they can visually see kind of where they are with their readings or their videos for the entire module, so I think that's a really useful feature. Like if I had that with my own courses, I'd be thrilled. As an instructor, then one of our screenshots I think showed, you can get that data too. So if faculty are really encouraging their students to use that mark as done button or use that feature, then they'll get that data as well, so that they know, not only did they open it, but they marked it as complete. I think Jessica and I could probably talk about Leganto for about 2 hours straight and not get tired of it. So we're happy to take any other questions, but I also don't want to prolong anything here. So we're happy to also do any sort of follow-up afterwards if you want to contact us.
You did just get a question in the chat. They asked, have you come across any copyright issues?
So that is a great question. And I'd be curious to know like what kind of issues you're envisioning, but actually, I think Leganto helps us with copyright. So I'll give you just some examples. So with the textbook digitization, it keeps track of the number of pages that we've digitized. So it helps us stay, within that fair use 4-factor. So it gives us a tool to kind of work in that space. We can actually like count the number of pages that we're digitizing. And so I think that's one like a kind of a check for us or a relief. It also allows anything we digitize, it's secure. So only students with the permissions can access, those items. We're set up that way. But when faculty are uploading their own materials, it asks for a copyright declaration. So it asks the faculty member, are you the copyright holder? Is this a use that's within fair use? So it asks the faculty to make that declaration on anything that they're uploading into the reading list. And it also gives them the option to add Creative Commons license like icons if they are the author. So they can easily add a Creative Commons copyright or a Creative Commons license on materials that are uploaded into Legato. So we don't use the tool this way, but Legato will also connect with the copyright clearinghouse, and you can do direct purchasing right with them. So again, this is not something that we use it for, but I know I just went to a Legato training on copyright management, and there are institutions across the entire world that are using Legato with Alma because Legato is that piece that connects them to the clearinghouse and allows them to purchase their license directly. And it calculates then what you spend on buying articles and things like that for your patrons. So no, I think it's a copyright tool for us. So I'd be curious to hear like what issues you were anticipating. Oh, yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So I've learned a lot about copyright from my experience with Legato, and I'm excited. There's actually like so much we could do with it. We just, we're in baby steps. This is our fourth semester with the tool. So every semester we kind of build, a new functionality, or there's a new, a new project, something new we want to try with it.
Okay, well, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Jessica and Kate, thank you so much for your time and your presentation today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks. And then I'd also like to remind everyone, the link to the survey is in the chat. So if you could please take a moment to provide the conference committee with your feedback, we'd greatly appreciate it. We do have another break scheduled. So our next session is scheduled to begin at 11:15 this morning. So everyone is welcome to stay in the Zoom room and just, turn off your cameras and mute your mic if you If you would like to stay in here and go grab a cup of coffee, take a break, and we'll see everyone back at 11:15. Thank you.